welcome. As you know, my name is Mel and I am the founder of the Payroll agency and your host here on Payroll and Prosecco. With nearly a decade of experience in recruitment specializing in payroll, I've made it my mission to connect top talent with the right opportunities across Australia. This podcast is all about real talk with payroll professionals, industry insights, and having a little fun along the way. So grab a glass of bubbles and dive into the world of payroll. Cheers.
Cheers. Mel.
On today's podcast, we are joined by Toni from New South Wales Industrial Relations. So welcome and thank you for joining us.
Absolute pleasure to be here.
Look, I think obviously most of us know you've done a lot of events and stuff around the city, and you're very ingrained in the payroll community. But please start off with telling everybody a bit about yourself and how you got into IR.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mel. Again, a huge thank you, Mel, for the invite to do this with you. New South Wales Industrial Relations as a regulator is really working hard to engage with the payroll community. So being a part of something like this is very, very awesome for us.
Great.
A bit about me. I've been with New South Wales Industrial Relations now for 20-something odd years.
I'm 34.
Yeah, I'm a bit older than that. And I suppose I started off, my IR journey started off when I worked in the manufacturing and construction area. I worked in an organisation where the payroll person at the time, good old Helen, provided me with a copy of the old Clerical and Administrative Employees State Award. Now that would have been showing my age in the 90s. I went through and had a bit of a read of that and thought, hold on a second, I'm working a lot of hours and not getting paid all of them. I wasn't getting overtime for doing over 8 or 9 hours a day. So it was common for me to do an 11-hour day. So I went back, I took that paper copy of the award home and read through it, and then got myself a notebook and started putting down, recording my hours and looking at what I'm doing, and then sent a letter of demand to my then employer. And it was for a lot of money back then.
You owe me money.
And they actually paid it after a long process. And the manager at the time was a gentleman who had just started, but he was very keen on seeing me develop in that space. So he grabbed me in his office one day and said, mate, you're going to do this course. And it was an IR course, a HR course. Started off at TAFE, and that was my journey into industrial relations. Going forward a few years, I accepted a redundancy, a severance from that organisation, and the next day applied for a job in the New South Wales State Government, working for New South Wales Industrial Relations in their call centre. Huge drop in pay, but I got it, and I realised I loved it. IR is I'm going to say a cool space, and people are going, IR's a cool space, there's something wrong with him. But I really enjoyed it, and I'd learnt so much in the call centre. I moved into the compliance space, and then because you all probably know I talk too much, the workplace advice manager at the time said, we're running a whole heap of workshops. We need someone who talks too much, and Tony's perfect. And, here I am. That was 17, 18, 19.
Still talking too much.
It was 20 years. Yeah, sorry. Was I meant to do that short?
No, not at all.
So that's how I started in this space. And I've had delivered a lot of sessions to payroll people and spent a lot of time with accountants, payroll, bookkeepers, etc., hoping to build a compliance culture when it comes to IR.
And I think you've got a really good way of relaying information in a palatable way. obviously compliance and everything it's very complex. It's not easy to understand. Sometimes people don't understand it, and I'm assuming that's where you'll get all the calls and stuff. So you have a way of relaying information in layman's terms, but with getting the information across. So it's you've picked the job well. You do really well. So
fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
No,
I try to make it as simple as possible because I know. I'm going to take these off, by the way.
Yeah, fine.
I do realise that it's complex. I'll just use the long service leave as an example. It is a very complex piece of legislation. Let's not go anywhere near the Fair Work Act, but and even your awards, they're complex. Yep. So I feel like it's my job to make it easy to understand for whoever needs it.
Correct. And we need it, to be honest, because I think, it's obviously, as you said, super complex, and we'll obviously go into a bit more in the details as we go. But I guess I'd love to kind of have a bit of an understanding, and I'm assuming the payroll community too, with can you give us a bit of a snapshot about what New South Wales Industrial Relations actually do? What's the history of it? What do you know about why we have enterprise agreements and awards and the complexities and compliance that goes along with payroll?
I could go all the way back to the master-servant type scenario, but look, industrial relations has developed over the last 160, 170 odd years. And, we've had unions that have trade unions that have played a major role in bringing around workers' rights. There had to be a government department that looked after it. And at the time, it was the states that were doing things on their own. So New South Wales Industrial Relations, and look, I'm going to go back as far as when I started, was known as the Department of Industrial Relations. New South Wales Industrial Relations then became the Office of Industrial Relations.
Sounds fancy.
So then we became Employee Relations, and now we're New South Wales Industrial Relations again. So things have developed, things have changed in terms of history and in terms of where we sit when it comes to industrial relations. Back in 2005, there was a piece of legislation called Work Choices that came into effect. It did change the landscape. So at that time, if an organisation was a corporation, they were no longer covered by the state legislation and they fell into the federal legislation. But there was still obviously a lot of sole traders, a lot of organisations that were not corporations. So the state systems still applied in their entirety. Then in 2009, Forward with Fairness came in, and the Fair Work Act was about to kick off. And the Forward with Fairness policy, it was essentially trying to get the states to work together. And the New South Wales government at that time elected to refer its powers to the federal government. So that's when the Fair Work Act came in 2010. What that meant was the New South Wales government essentially went from looking after a lot of people and everyone to having a very small amount of people that are covered by its legislation. So, and when I say very small, there's still a few million that are covered by long service leave. There's state government employees, there's local government employees, but it changed the landscape for us. So we went from an organisation of a few hundred down to, at one stage, we were about 40 or 50 odd. I think we're about 70 odd now, 70, 80 odd. But things have changed quite dramatically. So we now look after long service leave, again, because the referral, and again, the National Employment Standard for for leave, it refers to long service leave. If it's in your agreement, if it's in an enterprise agreement, your modern award, etc., it'll apply. Otherwise, it's referred to your state system.
The state system. Okay.
And there's still, at least a couple of million people that are covered by that.
Well, I'm always saying that, payroll seems to be like an ever-changing landscape. Like it's just 1 month from another, like for this year is to what it was, last year. Obviously I've been doing this for 10 years. And I think even in that time, we're talking about all these things that we weren't talking about necessarily 10 years ago. And it's been quite interesting to see as well, because obviously it changed the nature of your payroll person. Like what skills do they need? It went from being, data entry, time cards and all that kind of stuff to being analytical and being able to, read things and interpret things. And how do you feel that will apply to you and your business and the employee? So it's very, it's just ever changing, and it'd be interesting to kind of see, obviously we'll talk about it a bit, but how much further it's going to go, because you just never know, right?
Long service leave is a great example of that, where probably, I'd argue 10 years ago, nobody talked about it. It was.
I don't think it's before 4 years ago. Maybe it started popping up everywhere.
That's what it is. It was virtually, we had the wage theft stuff that happened, and then after that, everyone thought, hold on, if there's been mistakes here, has there been mistakes in this space? And long service leave is now something that organisations are concerned about. Organisations are trying really hard to make sure that they're compliant in that space, and that's why they're talking to us, and that's why hopefully they're listening to these types of events.
Well, this is why I did this, because I obviously get people talk to me all the time, and I love learning about payroll and learning about the market and what the concerns are, because it's very important for me to know. But I thought this would be a really good tool to get you to explain some things to the community in terms of like sources and things like that. We'll go into way more detail, but people have got an issue with, everyone has got an issue with something to do with IR. So it'd be good for you we'll obviously talk about everything in some more detail, but I think it's really good to reach the masses. Well, I say that, not that I've got the masses listening to this, but if they wanted to,
you will after today.
Yeah, well, you never know. You're a celebrity. But it's good, but you'll get the people that will do all the marketing for it and stuff. And then, people, hopefully they can listen to it and they can take something away from it, even if it's something just a bit better of an understanding of why, because, we were talking obviously outside earlier, and obviously majority of my clients, in order to have a payroll team, need to be larger organizations, it's a couple of hundred people plus. But we forget that payroll can be small people, like me. I have to payroll myself. I still have to abide by legislation. I had to do my STP. I sent it to a screenshot to a couple of people the other day. I was like, look what I've just done. But I still have to do it for myself. And my temps and all this kind of stuff. So, we forget that it's not just large organizations that have to follow these processes, So it's interesting. But we'll obviously dig into details as we go on. I guess we'll go into some legislation focus now and get a better understanding about that. So what are some of the common payroll mistakes that businesses in New South Wales are still making without even realising?
So I'll talk about from the regulator's perspective in New South Wales and looking at the issues we deal with, so long service leave being the major one. It's two-pronged. So number one, I'm sorry for all the payroll providers out there, but unfortunately the systems are not set for a piece of legislation like the Long Service Leave Act.
Nope.
So your systems aren't perfect. So just be aware of that and understand that you might need to make some certain amendments here and there. The main one, the big one, record keeping. Okay. And all I can say is please be as thorough as you can. Record everything. And I know this is a bit of a killjoy, but even with and I talk about casuals, the long service leave is all over the place when it comes to casuals, but we know that they're entitled to it. How does it work? Well, I'm not going to get into that now, but I will say keep records. So, why is someone not being called for the last 5 weeks? Have they elected to take their own leave? Are they on technically leave without pay because they're going on a sabbatical for 6 months or whatever it might be? But you need to record everything as to why someone's not working, and keep those start dates, finish dates. Keep start times, finish times, all of those sorts of things. And I'm talking IR in general. Be very thorough with your record keeping. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously don't know the systems, but do they have ability to record keep? Like,
Yes.
does your system, you can keep good records of everything you need on there? And is it something you're seeing that people aren't doing as well? I don't. By the way, I mentioned it before. My ability to track anything is impossible. I pay all the money for systems, don't do anything. I can't remember the last time I logged into my job adder.
So that's, look, and a lot of people are like that. There's no dramas with that. And this is where your small businesses need to be aware that what your larger corporations need to do, you need to do. So for a small business, you're required, and for everyone, but you're required to keep these thorough records. And in terms of the systems, it's just checking the calculations. And I know, again, payroll people are going to say, Tony, I hate you, but and especially when it comes to long service leave. But you do need to check those calculations. And you know, we've got tools to help you there. We'll talk about those later. But, you know, you can do it yourself. Most people now, I'm hoping, have a sound understanding of the Long Service Leave Act. And when I say sound, even if you've got a basic understanding, you understand that it's complex, it's difficult, the entitlement's there, how we calculate it. But, you know, if you've got that basic understanding, you know that you've just got to check things over.
Yep.
Don't trust, sorry to the software companies, don't trust the software. Yeah. Just check it.
I think as well, we were obviously talking about it as well, that training your team to be all over these things as well. Like one of the biggest things I've noticed is process documentation. People aren't really focusing on that as much because they're busy. Everyone is busy. Everyone's got projects. Everyone's like constantly doing things. But with the turnover that's happening in payroll at the moment, one of the statistics I've said before is that the average tenure of a person in a payroll position is 1.8 years. So that's very quick turnover, right? So if your process is, one way with one team and that person leaves, are you consistently training the new people to do this? Are they able to? Are they tracking things the way you want them to, or is it something that kind of gets lost when that person leaves, or if that manager leaves? Is it documented clearly that this is part of the process, is to make sure that they are tracking everything in detail, which I'm seeing just a lot is unfortunately just not able to happen at the moment.
Get your standard operating procedures up to scratch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But also, just in relation to that, there's a lot of good free education or cheap education out there when it comes to IR, payroll, HR, etc., which all is incorporated, I think. And we used to run a lot of sessions. We now have a tool that we have on the website that, free sessions available for everyone. And I'm sure there's other organisations that are out there. Fair Work do a lot of stuff. They've run webinars all the time. So look for some of that sort of stuff. And I know 18 to 20 months is not a long time. So if you're thinking, I want to spend a lot of money on educating someone, you're thinking if it's only going to be for that long, is it worth it? Well, there's tools out there to help you educate your payroll people. And you know what? I suppose one of the things is all people want to stay in an organisation that cares for them 100%. And wants them to develop. 100%. So if you can find these types of opportunities out there, hopefully you keep them for longer than that.
Well, I did a post the other day because this is something that I've been talking about constantly with the community is upskilling within your team. I'm seeing adverts going up, and I've got a couple of roles on at the moment around compliance and governance and things like that, because it's obviously to a lot of businesses very, very important. But we're talking about hiring externally. Oh, we don't have the budget, we're not allowed to, but we got to. Well, are you upskilling your team? Because one of the biggest things that payroll people leave for is because they're bored and they're stagnant and they're not doing. They sit there for 18 months. They're like, okay, well I don't want to just do this data entry stuff anymore. And, so we as a community need to be thinking about how we're upskilling them. So doing something like that and having a compliance person and governance person will keep them longer in the business, and they give them the opportunity to do the process stuff, right? The SOPs, get them to do it. If you don't have time, you need to delegate tasks. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to if they've been doing the process all this time, they can easily document it. All you have to do is check it, make sure it's correct. You're happy with it. Let's finalize it. That's done. That goes on the file for the next. It's
they're the experts. Let the expert write the SOP for you because they know exactly how they do it.
I don't know. It's a very interesting thing that the community is doing at the moment with. I just don't have time to do these things. It's like, well, get somebody in your team to do it. I know they don't have time, but they will probably want to work extra hours for it because it's exciting for them, because it's something that is taking them in the next direction. It's a more senior skill. So, I talk about it all the time. But in order to the next question was going to be, we keep seeing in the news about underpayments and these massive companies as well, and I hear about it all the time. I'm obviously not going to grass anyone up, but I hear about it all the time. So, what do you think is contributing to the fact that businesses are still underpaying people?
Look, I can only talk about what the New South Wales regulator sees, and of course it's mostly that long service leave space. But a lot of it, sadly was, and we spoke about this, ignorance. It was, this legislation kind of didn't exist. It was there. It's been there for 69 years. It turned 70 in December. But people are entitled to it when they've been there with us for 10 years. Why would I worry about it now? Well, everyone needs to worry about it now because we've got a population that's aging and we've got people who are entitled to long service leave. So for a while there, people forgot it existed and just kind of went off what their system provided. And the systems weren't keeping up to date with the legislations. There have been minor amendments. There were amendments made for the JobKeeper stuff. So when something like that happens, it's imperative that an organisation stays up to date. And if you're thinking, well, it's something that we don't have to worry about, well, you don't worry about it until it bites you.
100%. Of course. Yeah. And I think, we'll talk about, not here, we won't, but I'm trying to put together something that's going to kind of educate people. We've talked about it before, but, managers, I think, that step into a manager role don't always understand the step that goes from like a senior payroll officer or team leader into that manager role, what that difference in duties entail and the other things that go along with then being the head of the department. So, and this is one of them, if they haven't been shown in a previous role that this is something that you need to do because the other manager wasn't fussed about it, they become a manager in another organisation. They never know that that's something that they need to do.
Yeah, managing staff is very different than just entering data or doing the basic payroll stuff. But payroll's not easy.
There's a difference between operational and strategic.
That's it.
And we are well past like operational at the moment. You can't be. You need to be strategic. And that is a jump up that a lot of managers at the moment don't realise, I think.
And I think there's a gap in that space. So if anyone's, again, education, making sure that your organisation looks at that person and says, let's upskill them, let's get them ready to do that management role.
Yep.
So being aware, people issues that you're going to have to deal with, and then of course, people are going to come to you about, well, what does this piece of legislation state? What's your view on this, etc. So you're the manager. Everyone's going to rely on you for that type.
I think it's about delegating those tasks, and then you can focus on doing checks and making sure that your back end stuff, because your years fly as well, right? Like how quickly is a year gone, and you've been doing something a certain way. Say you are in a company for 4 years or whatever, and you implemented it, and you've checked it, and you've gone up to okay, this is the way it's meant to be, and then before you know it, we are 5 years down the line. They haven't changed anything. Everything's still done the same way, but legislation has changed.
Yeah.
And they don't change it in the systems.
That's correct. Yeah. Look, I've been giving software companies a bit of a hard time during this podcast, and I apologise for that. I don't mean to. It's just
sorry, guys.
Up to a certain stage, long service leave was ignored. I can tell you I am aware of a lot of organisations that are working really hard to get it right.
Yep.
And when they get it right, when your systems are right, that takes some pressure off that particular manager. But it's, again, the manager's role also to just niggle that organisation.
Yeah.
Like, hey, help us with that long service leave stuff.
Yeah, and we talk about systems, and obviously the last podcast with Alina talks about AI, and, unless we can't be moving ahead with the market and the systems and like AI. I'm trying to do AI in recruitment, and I was saying to the guys the other day, I can't implement AI because I don't have good systems yet. And that's what Lena was saying. It's the same in payroll. We can't be having AI and automating things and making things easier for your payroll team if your systems and your processes and things aren't even set up on the basic level yet. So it is, I think, something we all need to kind of reflect on over the next sort of 12 months, I think, for sure.
I'll throw in there my thoughts on AI and payroll.
Okay, go on.
I reckon that payroll people are going to be safe because, you know what, interpreting legislation, you might get an AI that interprets it, but then you've got legislation that's really vague and ambiguous, and every situation or circumstance needs to be looked at on its own merits. And, AI is not going to do that. You need someone to look at that, and someone who's an expert in AI is probably going to say he doesn't know what he's talking about. But it's, you need a person there that
Cool,
can
100%.
look at this and say, you know what, for this scenario, this will apply because of these specific reasons.
100%. I think AI it won't take all jobs. It will take some jobs. And we talked about it in the last episode. It will take some of the, the data entry stuff, some of the boring, which it already has. 10 years ago, we didn't have really time and attendance systems. Everything was paper-based. Well, maybe we did, but I was still recruiting a lot of roles that were just like, the main key duty is just to enter timesheets. It still happens today, but now we've got all of these automations. So we're already in a world of AI, but we can take it to the next level, but we've got to really fix up that middle bit at the moment. Are there any changes to state-based legislation that employers should have on their radar? Is there anything that you can tell us?
Look, all I can say is just, in terms of the Long Service Leave Act, people are going to hate me. Harmonisation, keep waiting. Outside of that, look, in New South Wales, we are always looking to move forward. We're hoping to have a methodology out soon. And obviously, the Long Service Leave Act of 1955 is a bit old.
It's a bit old.
So, we're pushing, we'd love to see some new legislation in that space. So all I can suggest is that just, keep watching the LinkedIn page, the New South Wales IR LinkedIn page. And if anything's happening in that space, I will shout it over the rooftops.
I'll share as well. I'll share everything you post. It is a long time ago, 1955, and if it needs to change, you're going to work on it. But okay, cool. What does good payroll compliance look like in New South Wales right now? Is there anything you can think of?
Oh, look, I wish some of my investigators were here and they could probably answer this better than I could. But obviously, I'll go back to record keeping. Yep. So it's all about, using your system and ensuring that you keep thorough records. And I'm sure most of the systems out there, that's what they require. Be particular, fill every spot out. That's all I can say. Like if there's we used to, I do it. You skip through anything you can skip through. Don't skip through anything when it comes to employment records. Put every bit of information in. If someone's asking for leave without pay, put leave without pay. And if they give you a reason, put the reason in there.
Yeah.
Everything. So be very
because
thorough
you
with your
assume
record
you're going to be like, I'll remember this. I'll remember it. And then you don't. Or you leave. Or your staff leaves or something. So it does. It's good. That's a really good tip.
And it's a protection for you too. So we're talking about risk management when it comes to that record keeping, because you want to make sure that if that person's saying they're going to be on leave for this specific reason, that you have the evidence. And so whether it's their leave application, where it might be an automatic system, whatever it is, you've got it there and you can use that.
Okay, cool. Everyone take note of that. And okay, then I've got a question. How do state-based entitlements like long service leave work alongside national awards and enterprise agreements?
So I touched on this earlier. So the Long Service Leave Act of 1955 still applies if there's a modern award, for instance. If it refers to a specific long service leave entitlement, then that will apply. Enterprise agreements are the same. If they refer to a specific a long service leave entitlement, it'll apply. Otherwise, most of the time, the Long Service Leave Act will apply if there's no mention of it. And sometimes it just says it refers straight to the NES, which will mean that then it's up to the employer to do their little bit of research and find out where am I covered? Am I covered by an old award when it comes to long service leave? So they might be a member of an association, which might then deem them to be part of an old award, which then means the long service leave provisions from them may apply. If not, then it's the Long Service Leave Act of 1955. It applies in New South Wales. I will say, Mel, also, if anyone from local government is listening, you're covered by the state system. So your award is a state award. So, and it has its own long service leave provisions. But for casuals, it applies the Long Service Leave Act of 1955.
And my only question to that is, if someone isn't sure, is this easily accessible to access this information if you're not sure?
Look, the best thing to do is check our website, check the Fair Work website. And if you're confused, both organisations have phone numbers, and I'll talk about the New South Wales Industrial Relations number. It's 131628. We-
131628.
We could sing that and come up with a jingle almost. But
What was the song you said earlier?
no, we're not doing Living on a Prayer. We're not doing Living on a Prayer. All my friends will say, yeah, trust him to say that one. So, yeah, look, it's give us a call. Give us a call and, give us the scenario. And if the Long Service Leave Act of 1955 doesn't apply, we'll tell you.
Yeah.
We'll tell you.
Better to be safe than sorry. Just call, ask the question. I know people are strapped for time, but it's just call and ask the question and triple check it. And at least you know you're doing things
That's
legally.
correct.
Okay, that's great. Okay, I like this question. Are there any quirky or lesser known parts of the New South Wales payroll law that tends to trip people up? And have you got any examples?
Do you know, I put one on LinkedIn the other day, actually a couple of weeks ago, and I think I'll talk about this one now again because it is quirky. So we had a couple of brothers who had a business for 20-something years. Everything was fantastic. Then they had a falling out over something, okay? And, it might have been the fridge door I don't know. But they had a falling out.
Yeah.
And what happened was, so one of the brothers was managing the books. And that brother was obviously paying everyone a wage, including himself. So 20-something years later, they've had this falling out. He's contacted New South Wales Industrial Relations and said, hey, I'm owed 20-something years of long service leave.
That's insane.
Now, the brother, when he gets the complaint, says he wasn't an employee. He was a director. He owned this place. No way. He's not. And then we said, well, we've got evidence that he was paid as an employee. So he's an employee. So please be aware. This is for the mum and dad businesses.
Yeah.
But yeah, long service leave applies if you're an employee.
Yeah.
So,
Well, this is really important to those who do the mum and dad payroll. So I get loads of people that do, their full-time job and then on the side they'll do payroll for, the one-man bands or, the neighbour asks them to just do the books for them and things like that. So if you're doing the books for small businesses, your neighbours, your aunties or whatever, listen, you make sure you do things. So I am entitled to because I pay myself as an employee.
If you leave your organisation, Mel, you're entitled to.
Can I pay myself long service leave?
Not yet. You're not. How long have you been in business, Mel?
6 months.
Oh, yeah, you got a while to go.
That's if I survive the 10 years.
Mel, can I tell another quirky one?
Of course you can.
This is the history of long service leave and how it started. People always say, why is Australia one of the only countries in the world that has long service leave? And I talk about how this is where you've got, Australia in the 1950s was made up of people coming in from Europe, mostly coming in from Europe, and mostly coming in from the UK.
Yep.
So they come in and, of course, they want to go home. They want to see their family, but obviously they were working, so they had no opportunity to take enough time to go home. And, of course, in 1955, I don't even know if Qantas was flying to the UK.
I was just about to say, I was like, I don't think you would have been. This is 25 hours, and you've got to get over to the first leg out of the country. Basically, is like 12 or 13 hours. So they probably didn't operate flights like that back then. No.
And you know what? And somewhere someone will listen who's an expert on this, and they'll fill
That's
us in.
incorrect. We actually did them. Shut up.
But anyway, so what happened was the unions came up with an entitlement. So the long service leave entitlement, and the way it works is that essentially it allowed people, so it's funny enough, it's an entitlement of 2 months, allowing people to spend, back in 1955, up to whatever it was, a week to 2 weeks to get to the UK on a boat, spend 4 weeks with their family, and then come back on another boat.
There you go.
And that's
imagine
where
going
you
back
get
to the
long
UK on a
service leave.
boat, though.
Yeah.
God, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't even like doing the flight. That's 25 hours. Oh, no, I couldn't do it by. I'll just stay here. But that's so interesting because you said that at the GPA, and I think that was one of the key points that a lot of people took away because I saw all the posts about it after being like, this is the one. It's really interesting. It is.
And it's quirky. It is a quirky piece of legislation that's very unique to Australia, and that's why.
Yeah, no, it is. And Australia's just an island so far away. So, well, I guess we're on the topic of long service leave. And obviously, just to note that everything Tony talks about today is very much his own opinion. Obviously, we're talking facts and stuff on a very generalized scale. And we're going to offer some support services and stuff. But if you've got an individual situation, you have to call up and get professional advice, right? This is just on a generalized sense. But I guess I would love the community to get a bit of an insight into long service leave. And is there any generalized tips? Obviously, we talked about record keeping and stuff, but is there any other tips for the payroll community about getting on top of it? Because it is, the last few years has become such an issue.
Yeah, look, I strongly recommend you first up join or subscribe to our LinkedIn page. Get on there. We do an educational post at least once a week. We might do a fun one every now and then, but all of our posts are relevant to you guys. So jump on there and, follow us and show your support, but at the same time, take note of what some of those posts are saying. So we've got one on there today about commission and bonuses, etc. Or we put one on earlier this week in relation to that. So we're trying to do a lot of that sort of stuff. Then, of course, our website. So we recently migrated to the 1CX nsw.gov.au page. So that's the one customer experience. We to get to New South Wales IR, it's nsw.gov.au/industrial relations. And from there, we've got information on long service leave. Our FAQs, by the way, they're being looked at. We review them every 6 months. So this is where we don't want you guys to think we're stagnant in what we do. Views change, things happen. So we always update those FAQs and we're trying to make them as simple as possible to understand for you guys. We've got our long service leave champions program. Now, on LinkedIn, I see so many people now that are doing this course.
Yeah, I see it as well. And I'm really proud of people because it's there and it's, people complaining about it, but they're not taking this free course. It's free, isn't it?
It's free.
It's a free course online, and then you get the certification and you can share it with everybody. And it's like, it's a nice winning thing. But yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And it only takes, look, if you've got payroll experience, it's going to take you an hour and a half max per week. So it's 3 modules over a week. If you're new to payroll, and this is where if you've got someone who's just starting up in payroll, it might take them 3 hours a week, but I can tell you what, it's 3 hours where they're going to learn stuff. They're going to actually pick up how long service leave works. And again, they're going to be one of, a few people that has that knowledge. So, that long service leave champions digital credential, is a great credential. Highlight when you get it, put it all over your LinkedIn's, but at the same time, acknowledge that it is a very good free course. For payroll people.
I'll put it in the notes on here.
Fantastic.
I'll put the link for it in the notes on whichever platform you listen to, because I'm going to go on Spotify, but we've talked about going to YouTube and Apple Podcasts as well. So I'll put the links to all of the tools in the notes. So when we're talking about it, you can just scroll down and easily click. So you've got literally no excuse. I will link it there for you.
So, and we've got the long service leave calculator on there. There's e-learning modules on there. Look, in general, our page is all about education. So that's available for everyone. And if you want something like this, if you guys are thinking, and like you said, the GPA recently held their symposium, I'm more than happy to come out and talk to people. And, if you want something in depth and you want to talk about entitlement specifically, we can do that type of thing. So we're more than happy to get out there. New South Wales IR, especially on that stakeholder engagement side of things, we're working really hard to make sure that we get out there and advise employers, employees, payroll organisations. These are the entitlements. This is how they work.
And you also have the calls. You've got a call center, right? So if you have any questions specifically relating to your business, you can call the line, and I'll put that in there as well. So you can call and ask a specific, and they will give you factual legal advice.
Now, these guys are absolutely sensational. So they're a small team. They're our investigators and our inspectors. So they also deal with the complaints. So they're dealing with complaints, they're dealing with email inquiries, and they take about 1,500 of those a year.
Wow.
That's emails. Phone calls, they take about 6,000 a year. So they're dealing with these different things at the same time as doing the complaints, but they just do a fabulous job. And yes, they will give you, again, when it comes to the responses, they can't give you legal advice. Be aware of that, obviously.
Oh, so they can't give you legal advice.
But they can give you direction,
okay.
and they do. And they're very good at what they do. We've got certain people that have been there for a long time, really know their long service leave. They know their IR. they'll give you some sound advice or sound information anyway.
Okay, cool. So once again, I'll put everything in the show notes at the bottom. So you've got links to everything. And you can also reach out to Toni if you need if you want any support or anything, you're happy to. Okay, cool. That's good.
More than happy to. And you know, one of the things I'll put my LinkedIn page on there and happy for you to share that and happy to then help people with their long service leave.
But don't obviously everyone call him at once and be like, you start getting flooded with people being like, hey, what about this? Hey, what about this? But no, it's like, you know, there are tools out there. Obviously it is a topic that's it's being confrontational right now. But once you've mastered it, once you've got it sorted and you've implemented and you understand it and all of this stuff, and now moving forward, you can then see the future of it being a bit more streamlined.
Look, I hope that long service leave becomes easier for people to understand. How that happens, we'll wait and see. But you know, we are working really hard to get out there and provide the education and the information and the advice using our website, using the various tools that we have. So yeah, definitely contact us if you need something.
Okay, great. And then I guess we kind of touched on a bit of AI before, but where do you see the future becoming more automated within payroll? And I guess how would that reduce error?
Look, there's better systems developing all the time, and you know, it's scary how good some of these systems already are, and that's why I was bagging you out earlier, but I'm not. Like, you guys are awesome, and again, our job would be so much as a regulator. Our job would be so much harder if you guys didn't exist. The way you guys organise your record keeping, etc. So yeah, they're getting better all the time. So I am sure that the payroll community will develop itself as well, in terms of you may need to become a bit of an IT person as well, understanding certain aspects of the software that you're using. But I think you'll find, with AI, things are going to get better for payroll people.
And I think as well, as we said, as managers start to, you know, think more strategically, we're going to have, you know, the next generation of managers stepping up into their roles that are more no offense, maybe more a bit system savvy. Things come a bit more second nature to them when it comes to the systems and the capabilities of the systems and integrations. And, you know, there's people out there that are like, you know, they're so on it. They just know what the next thing is, and we're going to implement this. And I've got clients out there that are just, you know, there's things like Tanda, I think it is. I don't want to name drop, apologies, but they do enterprise agreements, what's the word I'm thinking about? Not implement. What's the word?
Implementation?
No. Interpretations.
Oh, okay.
They interpret it. The system does it as best it can, and then it goes into your system. So you don't have to sit there and try and understand it. It can do. I think that's what it does anyway.
I still reckon humans should be looking at
you
that.
have to, and you have to put it in.
Tony's opinion.
And you have to check it, and you have to put it in. It's not, you know, and if it changes, you've got to keep. It's not just like it automated, perfect, done. But yes, there are ways out there to streamline every manual process, but you still need human touch. I'm adamant payroll is safe, at least within our lifetime. Least within our lifetime. And yeah, obviously there's loads of tools out there. And I know I spoke to Brett Cohen about his tool that he's got as well that helps some people as well. So obviously you can reach out to him as well. So I get another question then. So if you had a magic wand and can change one thing about the current payroll compliance landscape, what would it be?
First up, I don't have scope to do this, and I won't say harmonisation, but I'll say a legislation that is user-friendly, that is modernised, that is written in plain English and easy to interpret, and helps you guys when it comes to, you know, simple calculations, simple accruals, etc. That would be my dream.
Just don't think it's going to happen in our lifetime.
Do you know what? Harmonisation might not happen soon, but you know what? I know that, again, you know, the legislative change can happen, and all I say to people is just keep an eye on different things. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I want that to happen. So a new Long Service Leave Act in New South Wales would be wonderful. If Minister Kotsis hears this, please consider it. I don't think she will. But
who is that?
That's the Minister for Industrial Relations in New South Wales. She's my boss.
I don't know if that is. Sorry. I should probably
She's
know.
awesome.
I should probably know that. Look, it's not. So we just look. At the end of the day, none of us had control on it. So like us, I have nothing to do with it. But we don't have control over it. So we just have to try and help each other and come together and utilize the tools and utilize the sources and stuff that are out there to make it as easy as we can.
And look, again, there's organisations out there that are coming up with some wonderful systems that may deal with long service leave really well. Look for them, look for them and, use them if you can.
Hopefully they'll start, like all the existing ones will start having a think about it as well. I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff going on with systems at the moment. Obviously Procedures going and CRIS 21, you have to come off and go on to iCRIS. And I know ADP Global Views is coming off theirs and stuff. As
a regulator, one of the things that I want everyone to know is that we are working really hard in relation to payroll community, into the payroll community. So we're talking to your larger organisations, and we're working with them. We're talking to them about methodology, calculation, etc., and we're helping them. So again, as a regulator, we want people to do the right thing. Nobody wants to underpay anyone deliberately.
No.
Nobody does.
No.
So we know that payroll companies, payroll systems, organisations, big or small, they're working really hard to ensure that people are being paid correctly. Yeah. And it's happening. People have got their hearts in the right place, and hopefully, we'll see improvements in this space. And payroll people are becoming a lot smarter. You guys are really aware of different things now. And that's a huge advantage. And coming together as, and helping each other and stuff like that as well. Yeah, look, I think, as you said, we can't change it. So let's just work together and make sure we get ahead of it, basically. That's it. If business owners or payroll, teams are listening right now and wondering whether they're compliant, what's one thing that you'd urge them to check today? Records. Check your records. Okay. I've barked on about this a lot, but yeah, record keeping. Please just make sure that your record keeping is really thorough. And, and you're saying, well, what does he mean by that? Every box. Fill in every single box. Back in the old days, and showing my age here again, we used to have books. And I used to say to people, fill in every single box in that book. Now I'm saying to you, put your information, so data is the big thing. Fill in everything, make sure your data is there. Don't do a mail and be lazy and then forget. No. I forget everything. I just can't. Because obviously I've got, I use Job Adder, and that's our CTS, I think it's called. But anyway, so same thing. There's 1,000 boxes, and we can code up and we can do things and you can put them into folders. So I could put like CRIS 21 payroll people, SAP payroll, and it would make my life significantly easier, because then I get a job called in. Hey Mel, have you got any immediately available CRIS 21 people? I'm like, see, and I don't code it up, and that is my. Are you coding? Text me. Are you coding? It is hard, and I think, but once you get into it and you start becoming a habit, it becomes second nature. Yeah, I am asking you to put some time into it. And I understand that, and it's annoying, and you think, I don't need to. We don't have employees that we need to worry about when it comes to this sort of stuff. You might, just in case, record keeping is huge. Great. Please. Cool. Well, I guess we'll finish up then. So. What's your last tips let's do the last tip of advice. Record keeping. Look into systems that potentially are working on things. And I think it will start coming over the next couple of years, next 12 months probably, because as I said, they're working on these other things at the moment, and the next thing will naturally be, I'm hoping, because it's nationwide, right? It's not just a New South Wales thing, it's nationwide. Remember, there's different long service leave legislations in different states. So that's a pain in the butt for you guys. And again, harmonisation. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It might happen the day after. No, it's probably not. But keep your look. The best bit of information I can give you is just stay aware. Check the New South Wales IR website for any updates. Check our LinkedIn page as often as you can, and just keep up to date with what's happening in the IR space in case there's any changes to legislation, etc. So, educate yourself and educate your team. Educate yourself, educate your team. Make sure your team are taking some of the brunt of it as well, that they are
they're aware of it because, as we said, businesses and teams turn over so much. If you go, who's left to make sure that they're doing the right thing? So document good SOPs, train your team, if you do all of these things right, and I know that you're going to be, Mel, I'm so busy, like I don't have time. If you need, and I've offered this before, if you want help with restructuring your team in terms of who's going to do what or whatever and how to do things, because sometimes you can get a bit blindness when you're in it all the time. I'm happy to help and talk through what I'm seeing in the market in terms of like people taking on different duties and things like that. But educating your team, documenting things, researching, doing the courses available, accessing the sites and sources that are available for information, and ask Toni if you get stuck.
Keep payroll fun.
Well, look, thank you so much, Toni, for coming on. I think it was, after the GPA, I think a lot of people came away with so much information, and there's just going to be an ongoing conversation about all of these things. But thanks for coming on and talking to the community.
It's been an absolute pleasure. This has been lots of fun. And look, if anything, again, I just want to build awareness of, first up, who New South Wales Industrial Relations are and that we exist.
Mm-hmm.
And second, that, there's a source of free information. There's a source there for you to get help. And we're a regulator who work hard to help build a compliance culture around IR in New South Wales. So use us.
And we have to remember that IR is the point of it was to make sure that everyone is paid properly, paid fairly, they're paid for the work that they do, there's no businesses taking advantage, that you have standardized rules and regulations to make sure that people are not getting away with doing the dodge and things under the table and, all of these things. So
again, most people, I believe, are in it to be fair and don't want to underpay anyone.
No.
But we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where just be aware and understand the as much as you can in terms of the legislation and your agreements, etc. Awards. They're fun, let me tell you.
There you go. Payroll fun. All right. Thanks, guys. Tune into another episode soon. Bye.
Perfect.
Start recording.
Hello.
hello. Well, should we just do this? We can just do like an outtakes again.
Yeah. Should I put my sunnies on?
Yeah, put your sunnies on so we can be drinking like we're in Bali.
I wish.
We're in Bali. We're recording from Canggu right now. Yeah. Hold on. Because
Okay. Hey,
yes. Oh, I did behind the screen. Damn it. Oh well, that's all right. All right, chin.
Awesome. Thank you.
I hope it tastes nice. I think I've had this one before.
We'll do a cheers.
Yeah, we'll do a cheers. Right. Cheers
to alcohol-free Prosecco.
To alcohol-free Prosecco on Payroll and Prosecco.
Yeah, no, it tastes better when it's got alcohol in it, but that's okay.
Okay. Should we do? Yeah. Jesus. Okay. All right. So on today's episode,
what? It just, you can see I'm starting to lose my head. Anyway, sorry, that was meant to be serious. I dressed up for you today too.
Yeah, I did. I like it. I like I like the red's my favorite colour. Did I tell you that already?
You didn't.
No, there you go. Red's my favourite colour as well. Okay, so
that's
I was going to say
Prosecco
make payroll
helps.
fun again.
Prosecco helps, doesn't it? But yeah,
Prosecco helps. We've not even.
Water. There
you go. I do just the thing. I've drank a little bit, but I've not drank it. It's giving me a bit of a headache. Okay, cool. Well.